Hello, my name is Victor Gomez. I am a teacher candidate in the Cal State Teacher Induction program, and this is my Culminating Induction Project D3 for Spring 2019. When I talk about my experience working with my initial individualized learning plan in my addendum, if anything, this document allowed me to focus on key areas for improvement, reflect on my best teaching practices, identify key elements within the California standards of the teaching profession to use for my professional growth, and ask for advice from my coach and my mentor to be able to how to improve my teaching and have that reflect that in my video lessons and observations and feedback I get from both mentors and coaches. So the key idea behind it, I focus on planning my instruction. I learn a lot about that, and also how to differentiate my instruction to appeal to my learning styles for SPED and English learners. Embedding technology into my lesson planning to be able to increase retention, test scores, and outcomes and the needs of students. Keeping rigor built into my lesson plans, especially since I use a lot of hands-on in science. Creating authentic learning experiences for the students to be able to relate to. I think I learned a lot about that. And also making the content accessible to all my students in different ways. And you'll see examples of that. And also be able to collect data to adjust my instruction, because it's important to be able to reflect on what you're doing, see if it's working or it's not working, and data is very good about doing that. So with that, I'm going to show you a video of some of the lessons that I created, especially this last term. I think as we went along, we developed some certain techniques and we started implementing them, and we got a lot better results. So here's a video that I did of one of my last lessons that I created. And since I teach earth science, it's all about science. In this case is tectonic plates, which is the shell of the earth, or what is called the crust. And this is my class, this is my lesson. I prepared the lesson, took a lot of time and effort because I want to make sure that it included a lot of topics or concepts that I wanted to introduce to students, materials and equipment that was necessary to highlight the concepts, and also samples of some of the stuff we were studying. So in this case, it's tectonic plates. And I want to make it relevant to real life context, and I'll show you what I'm able to do that. And that became very important. So I use technology as much as possible. Here, students working with some of the material that I passed down before the lesson even started. And I'm using a Promethean board, which is a touchscreen board that I'm able to navigate through my lesson, but also be able to use online tools to connect with what I'm trying to present. As you can see, they were paying attention. Even got their attention a little bit more because I use something called Google Earth, which is what this is. I'm going to show you a screenshot of that because I'm talking about earth science, I'm talking about the earth, talking about how this can relate to what we're trying to present, and this is what this does. And this is a snapshot of the Earth, and we're able to navigate to any feature or surf to any feature on the Earth. In this case, we're talking about Earth science, so we're looking for geological features, identify some key sites that I wanted to focus on, and I marked them. And since I want to make it relevant as possible, I identify something local they can identify with, like the San Andreas Fault. Since we're in Los Angeles, I'm sure a lot of them have heard about it or seen it. So I had Google Earth is really good about doing this. Basically, this is a screenshot about 10,000 feet above ground level. You can even get closer to that if you need to, or distance yourself from it. The one I wanted to make sure they connect with this content, because in essence, we're in Los Angeles. We're not too far from this area, so they can see, well, I guess this stuff is relevant to me because it's not too far from where I'm at. All right. So that's Google Earth got their attention. A lot of them were familiar with the tool. Others were not. Those who were not got interested because the way it works is just visually very appealing. But also they can look at any other feature on Earth, including in the middle of the city and so on. So it's pretty good about doing that. Another thing I wanted to identify is the Grand Canyon, since we're talking about plates and um, certain geological features. And this is interesting because some of them have been to visited the Grand Canyon. So I wanted to make sure that they got a visual view from the above ground, but also down in the ground. And this is what caught their attention because, in essence, they identified with this, and that got their attention. So now they were paying attention because there's something they can identify with, but also I'm looking at something that they're familiar with, and I can interpret that in terms of the geological features that we're interested in the study. But it didn't stop there. Looking at my reflections and logs and feedback, I'm trying to make it even more interactive. I found another neat tool that allowed me to do that. Since we're talking about tectonic plates, here again is the another feature online tool that allows me to reinforce that concept I introduced. And this is interesting because, in essence, a lot of my students are from different parts of the world, and this highlights different geologic tectonic plates throughout the world in direction they're moving, how fast they're moving, and also how they give rise to volcanoes and earthquakes and so on. What this does, and I showed this in this lesson, it highlights the major earthquakes and volcanoes of the last since 30 years in the area. So that got their attention because a lot of them had visited those areas. They didn't realize that there were algae volcanoes or earthquakes in the area. So I try to make it interactive and possible and make it as real as possible. But also keeping in mind that I need to find out if they're getting it, checking for understanding, pausing, and so on. Again, I made the videos accessible into my YouTube channel. I put all the videos there. And also I put I don't know if you noticed, but I put closed caption on it so that for those students that needed another way to be able to process the information, here's written and then get the audio in the whole thing. Also, but I wanted to collect data, find out if they got it. I could give my kids a quiz or a test. But here's something that I discovered. It's called Plickers. Basically allows them to be able to take an assessment of their learning, or if they got asked 3 basic questions, in this case related to the topic I was introducing, tectonic plates. And this Plickers program works like this. Basically, I pass out these cards at the beginning of the class. Depending on the orientation of the class determines what your answer is, A, B, or C. And based on that, I asked 3 questions based on what I presented. The good thing about it is that everybody can participate, and they tell them even if you want to guess. And it gives me a good, pretty good sample of whether or not students were getting in the material. And then it collects it electronically or digitally for me to be able to look at it at a later time and find out if they worked. And if not, I'm able to go back and make adjustments. So here's the score sheets, and here's the data I was able to collect. So I did 2 lessons this last term. One was on tectonic plates, the other one was in earth science. Initially, here's the first time that I did it. The first question, they were all over the place, but that's understandable because it was a new tool. Now they become more familiar with it. Now you see 100% over here and here, meaning they were getting it. So, okay, so the adjustments that I did as a result of my reflection and the feedback worked because now I have data that I'm able to crunch and analyze and so on, see if it's working. These documents that were part of the program, the collaborative log, allow me to identify elements within the California Standard teaching profession that I wanted to focus on, what's working, and also the ones that are not working. So I'm able to go back, and when I did the next lesson, this is what I needed to focus on. But also give me time to opportunity to reflect on my own and find out what I like to see improvements on. So be able to integrate that. And I include a lot of these suggestions that I identify myself, and also based on the feedback from my coach, I was able to implement that. And the standards led my instruction. So as I went along, I was able to identify standards that were important that I wanted to make sure that I was included, like 2.7, use instruction time to optimize learning. Also, I focus on 3.1, something that I wanted to make sure that was included, especially in the last couple of lessons. And also 3.3, organizing curriculum to facilitate student understanding of the subject matter. I spent a lot of time on planning instruction. As a result of that. And also 4.2, establishing and articulating goals for student learning. That's why I had the agenda objectives at the beginning of the class to make sure that students understood what we were going to be focusing on, and then went back and also make sure that I use 1.4, using a variety of instructional strategies, resources, and technologies. So I noticed that I had the instructional plan, the lesson, the objectives, I had the video, I had made that accessible to them for a later time for viewing, and also the lesson plan was available to Google Drive if you wanted them to download it or email it to them. So in essence, what I got out of it is the individualized learning plan allowed me to focus on what I wanted to improve on. Since I got feedback from the coach and mentor, the process was a lot easier because I was able to see what I'm not able to see from a different lens. A second set of eyes is always best. Observations and annotations allowed me to look at myself and how I deliver my instruction and see how students react. Because when you're in the middle of a lesson, you're not able to capture everything, but the video will allow me to look around while students are reacting to the information that's being shared with them. The collaborative logs were meaningful because allowed me to realign my teaching to key elements as indicated here on the screen. My written reflections of best teaching practices that I have seen with some of my classmates or some other teachers. And the elements within the California Standards of Teaching Profession allow me to plan my instructions, use a variety of technology as you saw, for key areas to focus on. In essence, it allowed me to practice a broad and great learning environments for all my students to appeal to them. One of the things that came about as a result of this, I showed them the basics of what most geologists need to understand as a foundation to learn what they do professionally. And a lot of them took it upon themselves to be able to go and explore on their own. And that's a key indicator that they get it, because in essence, students are taking the initiative or ownership of their learning and moving on and using it and implementing it in new ways that you never taught them. So that told me that I'm in the right path. But there also is rooms for improvement. So looking forward to be able to revisit some of these key elements that are working and not working, and be able to adjust my teaching to be able to help my students make progress and achieve. Thank you very much.